Hello and welcome to Mondo Street Social Club. Today we're joined by American film director Darren Stein. If you love films as much as we do, you'll know Darren from, amongst others of his work, his cult classic Jawbreaker, and recently in 2013's GBF. One thing which has just happened, which is really exciting, I'm sure we'll touch on today, is that Jawbreaker has been included in the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures, which is a big deal. So Darren, hi, how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Good, thank you very much. Good, thank you much. Thanks for joining us. Let's start off with that inclusion in the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. That must have been a. Did you know that was coming, or was that a surprise email or phone call?
It was a surprise.
Yeah.
I go there quite often because I live in LA, so I'm able to enjoy the screenings, and it's often crossed my mind just how my films will never show there. And so the surprise was very big for myself as well. So that was nice.
Yeah, because it is an amazing, it's a compliment, but it's also a commentary on the lasting love towards Jawbreaker. What do you think is
great? It's really great.
What do you think has contributed to Jawbreaker having that longevity?
I think it's because the movie is sort of mythic. It's not, even though we made it in 99, it's sort of timeless.
Yeah.
And it's also, it's not just a high school movie. It's kind of a Faustian tale, sort of a deal with the devil type story. And I think that transcends, the idea of someone wanting to belong and the lengths they'll go to, be accepted, and then the consequences of that. I think it's sort of relatable beyond high school. And I think also because there is this like triptych of Heathers, Jawbreaker, Mean Girls. And then later you have like, a Ryan Murphy series like Scream Queens, or you have Euphoria. You see a lot of, I don't know, remnants of these films in other places. And so I think it kind of creates a cultural context for them that becomes something bigger than the films themselves,
Yeah. There must have been, when Mean Girls came out, you must have done a little bit of a double take.
It's really funny. Well, I was pretty, I was like, wow, she clearly watched my film because it's,
I think that's putting it very, very politely.
Yeah. Because, Mean Girls is based on a nonfiction book about bullying. It's called Queen Bees and Wannabes or something.
Yeah.
I think what bothered me just a little bit was just the fact that she's never really mentioned my film in any press whatsoever, or any films really. She's not really a cinephile. She's a comedian, so it's a different language.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. I don't care. I mean, it's a very different kind of movie. It's sort of a broad comedy. And I reflect that, Heathers was the beginning of all of that, and Heather certainly had a big impact on me when I saw it in the theater when I was in high school. So, but I've always been very upfront about that influence on Jawbreaker. But the Heathers of it all is just one of the influences. You also have like Grease or Carrie or Rock and Roll High School. There's other kind of bigger influences than just Heathers. So
yeah, totally. It was. Can I ask you? Did the title Jawbreaker come first, or your idea to use the Jawbreaker as a ball gag? Which came first? Because it's that scene where the Jawbreaker is forced into her mouth. You're thinking, well, this ain't going to end well, is it?
I love that question. Well, it started as I wanted to write a horror film, and I don't know about the UK, but I grew up with these girls in Encino in the Valley that would kidnap each other for their birthdays. It was sort of like this, but it was a tongue-in-cheek ritual of like, oh, it's Susie's 16th and we're going to call her mom and come early and she'll be in her nightgown and we'll take her to Denny's for some pancakes and tie her to the flagpole and humiliate her. And so Americans, I guess, have these weird I was going to an all-boys school, so I didn't get to really sort of even vicariously enjoy that sort of ritual. But I thought, oh, that could be an interesting beginning of a film. And I'm like, oh, then what if they kill her? And then I thought, okay, and what if they're kind of like the Heathers type mean girls? Really, but if I was gonna do that, I had to take it beyond Heathers. I wanted it to be super mean and super vicious. And how does she die? How does that happen?
Yeah.
And then I thought about the ball gag. I think it was in
Yeah.
Pulp Fiction,
Yeah.
or any number of, I mean, maybe it was just BDSM ads. I don't know what it was, but Pulp Fiction certainly did resonate. So this gag, this ball, and I'm like, well, what is that could use that to gag her with? And then what is a teenage version? What would girls do? Oh, we have these things called jawbreakers
Yeah.
that I grew up with that I remember as a kid thinking, oh, that's so, there was something forbidden about it because as a piece of candy, it was so massive. Literally, it was like a
Yeah.
baseball swing.
Yeah.
I
We
mean,
have them over here, but they're about the size of golf balls.
are they?
So yeah.
Well, you guys aren't doing it right.
No, totally, totally.
No, we actually we have smaller ones here too. We have golf ball size ones, but they get kind of bigger here because, America. And I remember getting my hands on one as a kid. I wasn't really allowed a lot of sweets in the house, but I somehow got my hands on one because there was summer camp and places you get them and stuff. And you'd lick them and lick them, and there were kids who would carry them around in sort of a paper cloth or something because they would last so long, and go to bed at night and put it on the nightstand and wake up and continue with it.
That truly sounds awful, but each to their own, as they say.
Oh my God, I had a girl in elementary school who came. Remember that powdered Tang? Do you have Tang in the UK?
Oh,
it's like a juice.
Oh, sure, yeah, we have, yeah.
You dip it in the powder and lick it off a spoon.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, well, this was not that. This was like a powdered
Okay.
juice that you'd mix into water, and it became an orange juice or a grape juice. Well, this girl brought it to school in a plastic bag and would lick her finger and dip it in and sort of eat it. Anyway, I'm rambling, but yeah, that's it. The Jawbreaker came first because I thought teenage girls would use that.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I thought, oh fuck, and that's also a great title for the film because the word Jawbreaker has so many connotations.
It does.
Which get explored in the movie. So that just all worked out. Because I mean, I lucked out too because Heathers is such a cool title. Like, how do you top that? Right? You really don't. But I think Jawbreaker comes close.
I think you're right. I think you're right. It's an absolute cracking title for a film, and
and by the way, I did not know that there was a gay porn called Jawbreaker that existed. That existed before my movie.
In Jawbreaker, the number of people you've worked with at Jawbreaker and your films, you've worked with a load of actors and actresses on their ascendancy, and it's really great to see them earlier in their careers being formed by somebody that actually cares about their art, not just putting them through the sausage machine, going in, out, in, out. Because Rose McGowan, good actress, she has a little bit of a reputation about her, from what we hear, but you get a really good performance out of her. And you even managed to get, and when I first saw it, I went, that's not, is it? But Marilyn Manson, and his character is deeply unpleasant, by the way. Well written, sir. Well done. Plaudits to you for that one. But it must be really good for you to see that ascendancy of people that you've worked with.
Yeah. Well, casting is such a spiritual process. It kind of, actors have schedules, actors have money they expect to make. There's so many of them. It's like, but also so few. The financer, the studio might want a particular person, for marketing. So it's like, it's always sort of spiritual the way it happens. And Rose, funnily enough, was not when I was writing this, I thought she was too obvious to cast.
Yeah.
I thought, that would be expected. I don't want to do that. Because I thought I just wanted to be, push the boundaries of casting, do something interesting. But guess what? She got the film financed. She was meaningful to the division of Sony, which was the home video division, who financed this film to begin with. So, it happened, and she turned out to be the perfect person. I remember our first meeting, me and Rose's first meeting. She's like, well, she's like, I want to play the character, sort of like a robot, like an android, sort of like And she starts making these movements like that. And I was like, oh fuck, what have I done?
Oops.
Oh Lord. But she turned out to be great. So, and then
Yeah.
Manson happened to be dating her at the time.
Yeah.
And that was the moment that he was coming out with Mechanical Animals, which is
Mm.
my favorite of his records.
Yeah.
And I just said to Rose, hey, do you think he would like play prom or maybe be the guy that she goes and, pins the murder on? And she's like, I can ask him. And she asked him, he said yes. And it was all really easy.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
He does have that certain swagger about him of somebody that
Mm.
needs a bloody good wash.
He really does. Yeah.
He does,
Yeah.
doesn't he? Yeah. I think you're right. I think that's his best work as a musician.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mechanical Animals is a stormy album.
It is.
It's his Bowie album, in my opinion.
So good. And you know what's so funny? I've always loved Bowie, but I just for some reason the song Cracked Actor, like it just sort of I missed it. And I recently discovered it really for the first time. And I was like, oh my God, Cracked Actor is basically one of the songs from Mechanical Animals. It sounds just like anyway, yeah.
Don't get Dan started on Bowie for God's
Mhm.
sake. We'll be here for the rest of the night. And he did this, and he did that, and he sang it that way, and he sang it this way. Here's my cross to bear.
So, when you're going through the process of writing, do you have someone in mind as you write? I always find that fascinating about writers. I was listening to something about a novelist who's just sold their rights for the film to be on Netflix, and they were asked, do you have someone in mind when you're writing, or is that not part of the process?
I think for some writers it is. And it can be helpful, because you have the voice, you can sort of see what it's going to be. I tend to do things, I don't know, I just tend to like to imagine something in my head and go from there. I don't really write with people in mind, no. So I wouldn't say I do personally, but it is done. It is done, yeah.
I think it's nice to have that, not so that you solidify it onto a certain character, and then it gives you more range, I suppose, more freedom.
Yeah, like for example, I have a new film that I'm putting together now called Aunt Max, which is really the most personal thing I've written, which is about it's my 90s LA Harold and Maude story.
Nice.
About this like older woman that I had this intense friendship with when I was coming out of the closet when I was 21. And she had children, a husband, a career, a whole big life. But when I said I was gay, she was like, oh, we're gonna be best friends. And she became obsessed with me.
Yeah.
And began to sort of like lie to her husband about her whereabouts and go to gay clubs with me. And we'd call her my aunt, and she'd go up to guys and be like, my nephew thinks you're cute. And she'd help procure boys for me. And then she wanted to hear about the sex because she married the first man she had sex with. So she never really played the field. Anyway, it was a very bizarre situation.
Yeah.
But she was like Auntie Mame meets, I don't know, sex, like a under, 50s sexually frustrated housewife. But sassy and wild. And I always thought she was cool, even as a little kid. But when I wrote that, first draft I wrote 15, 20 years ago, a while ago, and I had imagined someone like Catherine O'Hara in the role, and now, Catherine O'Hara is too old for the role, and then I was like, oh, Jean Smart would be great. Well, now she's too old for the role. So guess who ended up playing the role? I mean, we haven't shot it yet, but who just became attached to play the role? Martha Plimpton.
Wow.
Which is exciting and great.
Yeah, great actress.
So yeah, I couldn't have written that for her, but there's a certain energy, there's a certain I don't know, like life force that character takes on it, that so many actors can play. And it requires imagination to be able to sort of like understand that. Like I think it's important. I mean, part of filmmaking is being able to know that it's gonna be like there's a certain amount of magic to it. Look at it. When you're in a theater, there's a beam of light in the dark on a screen, where the whole thing feels kind of alchemical. And that happens, I think, even from the writing process to the casting process throughout the entire collaboration. Because it's a small miracle, honestly, that films can happen. As you have this 100 people on set, chaos,
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I see in your work is humor. I think it's a really important part of who you are as a writer, who you are as a person. And I'm just wondering how do you find that balance? Because some of your subject matter is more serious. And what you don't want to do is allow the humor to bleed over that theme to make light of the theme. How do you get that balance? Do you have somebody you bounce off, or have you got a good barometer?
I just think it's best to see the foibles in life, often the darkest shit. I mean, life is not easy, and getting through it requires a good sense of humor, I think. And being able to laugh at things, I think, is very healthy.
Yeah.
So I've always had a very that perspective on the world, of suffering, of darkness, because I have a attraction towards, darkness, but I also have an attraction towards light. But I'm not saying darkness as in, oh, let's sacrifice puppies and, worship stuff. It's more like just as human beings, we have light and dark. We have both sides.
We do.
So I don't know. I just, I think I've just always had a very dark sense of humor, from a very, but not in an evil way, but in the way that I could appreciate the humor of just being alive. And, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
That makes complete sense. Yeah, totally get that.
I think it's why I resonate more with British people, because British people, you guys seem to really be born with that ability.
Oh, we understand irony and self-deprecation really, really well. Yeah, because I think it would have been really easy for the death scene in Jawbreaker, when they discover a body and Liz's body in the boot, to have become parody if you hadn't have known where to draw the line. And I think that's something that you've got the gift for. You got the gift for going up to the line, get the laugh, and then stop. Whereas another director might go a little bit too far, and you go, well, that's lost the impact for me now.
Yeah. I mean, when the film began, that movie opened in the original draft, the way it was shot, I wanted the whole film to begin with a kidnapping. And then we had a test screening, and the audiences were so upset by that we had to stitch together that opening where, like, first she needs to know about them, the beautiful one, that was
is that frustrating though? Is it if you've birthed these characters, this beautiful story, and the first opportunity you get to push it out and let it be itself, somebody goes, it'd be a lot prettier with blonde hair, could you just go and give it a haircut? How do you deal with that? Do you obviously don't go into a pit of despair, but is there a
you know what the business consists of little deaths that you have to sort of deal with on the daily. Like, it's not for the faint of heart. It was my first quote unquote big studio movie. It was big, and it was not even the main studio. It was the home video division of the studio. So the movie cost $3 million, whereas films like Can't Hardly Wait or Cruel Intentions were 7 to 15 million, or Idle Hands or things like that. So I had to make a film that looked like those movies, but in 30 days, with a fraction of the budget. No one's getting paid as much. We don't have the time, so it was, but that creates the pressure cooker of a better movie, I think. And that actually works well. I think at the time I was like, fuck this is going to suck. But then, as life goes on, you just sort of like forget about it. I think that's part of why 25 years later, I'm like, oh, people care about this. You as the filmmaker, you're like, God, that was so far from what I wanted. But then over time, you sort of forgive yourself, I guess.
We should start the petition for the Stein cut.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much there, only because we didn't have time to shoot it, and I wouldn't be radically different. I got most of what I wanted, to be honest. I really lucked out. I mean, the one of the things I hated was when we were mixing the film, the sound designer had done Lost Highway, the David Lynch film.
Yeah.
It was a very dark sound design. If you listen to it on a system, you can hear like crows, and it's very dark. But the executive didn't like it. He thought it was too dark. And when we tested it, it tested too dark, whatever. So it was, I don't know whose idea this was, but to add in those fucking stupid cartoony sounds between the takes, the sequences. It's fine now. I've gotten used to it. I don't care anymore. But back when I first had to like do that, I was like, oh my God, this is really
Yeah,
it's not meant to be.
Yeah, it's almost like an element of slapstick that isn't needed.
Yeah, and then I was like, "Fuck it! If they're gonna do that, I'm just gonna make another sound when the kid sticks his tongue out at her. I'm gonna make a weird sound there.
Yeah.
Just make it totally meta, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I hate you so much. I'm going to beat you
I
in your
love
own game.
it. I love it.
Darren, during my lifetime, the representation of LGBTQ plus people in cinema has changed dramatically. I'll be 60 this year. So I've gone right from Dog Day Afternoon up to your work and up to films being released this year. And the representation of those characters and the opportunities for actors in those roles from where I sit has changed incredibly. What's it like on the inside? It has it improved? Is it getting easy to get films made, to get films distributed?
That's a good question. Well, yeah. I mean, listen. I mean, I'm working on a Jawbreaker movie musical remake right now with Columbia Pictures,
Ooh,
and
nice.
Wow.
Kim Petras just came on board to play Fern,
Wow.
because Fern is now trans in that. So fuck yeah. I mean, listen.
Yeah.
Well, let's wait for the green light. I mean, it still needs the official green light.
Yeah.
But Columbia has paid me to write it. I've written it. I pitched it. I've written it. And they said, we'll make this if you can get 2 or 3 pop stars. And we got Kim, and Chloe Bailey wants to do it. And I'm having a meeting with Paris Jackson, and it's pretty wild. Tate McRae and Charlie XCX and people like that we're talking about. We're actually out right now to Becky G. She's like a big Latin name. So, I've gotten messages over the years from LGBT people, obviously, who love the film. But interestingly, the trans community has really, I've gotten a lot of some feedback about how they thought that Fern's transformation into Violet felt like a trans narrative, which I never intended, but I guess it was there. And then the way Courtney dead names her, and she's like, "You're Fern," and because trans people live in fear of being dead named.
Yeah.
Well, fuck, if people like that, I'm gonna do that in the remake, because it makes it culturally relevant, and it takes the queerness that was subtext in the original into the text. So that's exciting. So I'm really, and even Kim, when I met with her, she's like, "Oh my God, Darren," not even just Kim, but like Dylan Mulvaney, who I met with about the role. Dylan was like, to see a character like Fern, a trans character, in the lead of a remake of a movie that's so revered and so like part of the cultural lexicon is so meaningful. So that's super exciting.
That is absolutely fantastic, because there was, if my memory serves me rightly, wasn't there a one-off show of a musical of Jawbreaker?
We developed Jawbreaker for the stage. We had
Yeah.
readings in New York and LA and concerts, and it was close to coming on in Seattle. It never really happened.
Yeah.
But the music was great. The libretto was great, which I wrote. And so I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to try to repurpose this as a movie. And so I pitched it to the studio. They liked it. I wrote it as a script, and the script turned out really well. And now we're in the process of putting it together. And we're getting a lot of support from CAA, which is the biggest agency in Hollywood. And they're sending us all the pop girls, which is great. And people who aren't even pop actresses, like, Lexi Underwood or, Grace McKenna, cool up and coming people. So we'll see. I mean, it's going well so far. So that goes, if this film gets made, and I'm knocking on wood because
Yeah. We'll join it.
It's always a fucking miracle.
Yeah.
It would be a game changer, not just for my life, I think for culture. So let's hope that happens.
Okay. Can I ask you a couple of questions about Jawbreaker, and then we'll move on to some of your other work? Where did the line, now I love this line, "Your ass is far too precious for vinyl," come from?
Oh my God.
It's a terrible reading. I do apologize. But
you know what? I think it's from another movie that I totally homaged. I want to say it's from Some Kind of Wonderful or something. The John Hughes film, Some Kind of Wonderful.
Right,
Oh gosh, yeah.
There's a scene when I think it might be from that. And someone says it to someone. I don't know, but I'm really into homage and references. I was in that movie.
Yeah.
And I actually do want to like Google it really fast, because I do think that because no one has asked about that line in a long time. And wait,
I just think it finishes that scene perfectly.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure it's from Some Kind of Wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, your ass is much too precious for vinyl.
Yeah.
I
wonder what the response would be if I said that to my wife one night. That would be
Yeah, I'm noticing it. It's on my Instagram from like 182 weeks ago, whenever that was. But yeah, I borrowed it. Oh yeah, Some Kind of Wonderful. Yeah, it's on Some Kind of Wonderful. Isn't it fun that I have to look this up my own references?
Well, it's not as if you've only made one film or written one script.
No, but thank you for bringing that up, because it's been so long since someone's asked me about that that I haven't even thought about it in that long. Wow. Cool. Yeah, because I remember I went, I'm from Los Angeles, and my grandparents had a small film lab in LA in the 60s. They started.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went to the premiere of Some Kind of Wonderful, and so the movie had a lot of impact on me. And I played the soundtrack a lot. I love all those Hughes soundtracks.
Nice. Courtney's comeuppance at the end when she's being, derided by the high schools at the prom. That reminded me of the Walk of Shame in Game of Thrones.
I know, didn't it? It
did.
I know.
I thought those cheeky buggers, they've gone and robbed off him.
That totally crossed my mind. I was here for it. I mean, if you're gonna get like homage, I mean, Game of Thrones is the ultimate, and that was cool.
Yeah,
because I was. Yeah, I mean, I was really, my big riff obviously is Carrie. And listen, no one can touch that. No one touches. I mean, that prom scene is literally 45 minutes long, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But I was asked to direct, an Alexander Wang fashion film based on that.
I saw that. Yeah.
So it's like, it's cool. It's had some inspiration. It's had some influence.
Yeah. The shot where mayonnaise is going up to Liz's house before she finds out that Liz is dead. Is that superimposed?
No.
No. Must be my eyesight then.
That is a real girl walking down a real street.
Right. Okay.
As a matter of fact, that was the very, very first shot of the production. That was day one. The very first shot was Judy Greer walking down the street like Fern. Yeah.
Yeah. So after Jawbreaker, then did you feel that the wheels were turning for you?
The wheel? What do you mean?
Well, did you feel that you as a writer, as a director, had some momentum behind you at that point?
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah. I was offered a lot of teen movies to direct, and I passed on everything because I felt like I had it. I had optioned a book that I wanted to direct. It was like this really cool cyberpunk book called Box 9. And I paid money, and I adapted it, and I couldn't get it made. I almost had a Winona Ryder attached to it. I just couldn't get it made. I wanted to do my Blade Runner, I wanted to do other genres. So that didn't happen. And then I got a blind script deal with Greenblatt Janulari, which are the producers of 6 Feet Under.
Yeah.
And so I was paid the most money I've ever seen in my life to develop a TV series with them, and for a year. And I developed something, and it didn't make it on the air. So that didn't happen. And then over the years, I wrote a lot of really exciting scripts and movies and things that just didn't happen. So I didn't really have the luck in my 30s as a filmmaker that I had in my 20s, because I made Sparkler and Jawbreaker back to back. Then in my 30s, I tried to get things made, and I kind of I didn't get traction. But I did direct. So I directed my documentary, which is called Put the Camera on Me, which is about the films I made in the 80s. And I ended up, writing pilots for ABC. I was going to write a pilot that was going to be to go along with Desperate Housewives, called The Flyover States, a really brilliant, darkly comedic sort of thing about a woman who comes, from a small town in the South, that goes to New York, comes back with her kids, and it's the culture clash that happens there. That didn't go forward. It was tough. I had some tough years there. And then I produced a movie. I was like, it had been so long since I made a feature that I decided to produce a film for my friend Joshua Grinnell, who is the drag queen Peaches Christ. Yeah. So I produced All About Evil that Natasha Lyonne started. So we cast Natasha. Talk about, casting someone who hadn't had a chance. Yeah. We cast Natasha. We were the first people to cast her in a lead after she had been kind of on the, cut loose by Hollywood because of her addiction issues. Yeah. So she was, she had been sober for a couple of years. She was newly sober, very raw. And she wasn't even on our lists, and we got her, and because the DP was Tom Richmond, who had shot Slums of Beverly Hills that she did when she was a kid, and she was great. So that was a really fun experience making that film. Oh, but GBF, and then GBF was after that. So GBF, I didn't write, so it doesn't have like, it's not, it's still a fun movie, and I really love it, but it's not like the Darren Stein experience necessarily.
Yeah.
That's something like Jawbreaker would be. But I liked the script a lot because it was doing something new with a genre that we haven't seen. It was like all the gay kids that wanted to be part of that mean girl clique. And the idea of high school, how we distill people into these groups, like you're gay, you're the black girl, you're like the sassy black girl, you're the Christian girl. I thought it had something very smart to say. So I got that film. I finally got another film made. It was great. And this is going to sound a little dark, but I may as well share it with you. It had been so long since I made a movie, that I directed a movie, that I thought to myself, if this isn't both, I wanted two things to happen. A, it had to turn out really well as a film. And B, it had to be a good experience for me as a director on the set. I had to enjoy the experience. Sure. And if those two things hadn't have happened, I was like, maybe you stop pursuing this as a career. Maybe it's just too tough of a road to continue down. But it was a great experience, and the film turned out well. So I kept going. So I took that I just was like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah. What if the road had turned a different way? What profession do you think you might have ended up in?
Idea. I have no I do teach screenwriting at AFI, which is a grad school program. Yeah. So I do that as a side hustle. But I don't think I was ever going to stop making movies, because I have such a drive for it,
Something in the blood, isn't it? It's it just keeps you coming back time
after
time after time. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your family then, because what we talk about on this podcast is nature and nurture. Are you a byproduct of your heritage? Is that creativity something that runs through the family line, or are you the first of type within the family?
Interesting. My uncle was a cellist in the LA Philharmonic. Wow. So he was a really brilliant, artist himself. So I grew up watching the orchestra. My dad's father used to carve violins out of wood. I carved violin really? And made stained glass windows. So he was quite an artist himself.
Yeah.
My mom used to paint, so she kind of is artsy and, into fashion and into the way she presents herself. So I would say there's a bit of creativity in the family. I mean, it's there. Yeah. But my mom and dad were like, okay, my mom was like, are you going to be a doctor or a lawyer? That's your option. And I was like, neither.
That's supposed to be your backup in case what you really want to do doesn't work. So were they supportive though when you said you're planting your flag?
Yeah, they were. I mean, they saw how passionate I was. I mean, you have to watch my documentary. It's like $1 to rent on Amazon. It's called Put the Camera on Me. Yeah. I was making movies on my cul-de-sac all the time on the street with all these neighborhood kids. So it was definitely in my blood. They knew that it was something I loved movies, and I loved making movies, and it was something that I was sort of like obsessed with. So they knew it was something serious for me. And I got an agent when I went to NYU for undergrad. I got an agent when I was still a junior. I was only a junior in college. I made a short film, and it got me some attention. So that was a good sign as well. It all,
Yeah. You mentioned that original Jawbreaker was, you wanted it to be a horror film. When are we going to see you do an out and out?
I'm trying to. I'm working on it. I was developing a slasher with somebody, another writer that I'm not writing, but I'm developing it with the writer. I've written a gothic horror in the past that I didn't make, but it didn't quite get made. I wish I was more prolific in my writing, I do love horror, and I would love to make one. I mean, the Jawbreaker movie musical I definitely lean into a lot of the horror tropes of that some more. Yeah. So that was really fun. But yeah, I just need to do it because I love the genre and I love the community. I'm sure you guys have seen. I'm a producer on Dragula, and I think I get that. So I gotta step it up.
Yeah. But I think what's beautiful though from the narrative is that you created a film, Jawbreaker, that was culturally relevant and pushing the boundaries, and it's cyclical, so it's come back again, and you're going to reinvent it and regenerate it for a modern society. And I think that's fantastic that it's got this second life, nay, third life with the musical. So that there's something you've given birth to can be born again. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I mean, it's almost too much. I just want to do new stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Of course. Yeah.
So
Of course.
the idea that
Any creative does. You're like, yeah, I did that, but I can also do this.
Yeah. That's why it's frustrating. That's why when the Academy screening happened, I was like, okay, well, that's great, but like, didn't we already do this? There's already been several 25th anniversary screenings. Listen, I already had a double feature at the New Beverly. It's like like, how do you top that? You know what I mean?
I am done.
I just need to point out that Dan went Monty Python then and said nay. Sorry, bud, but you're not getting away with that one. All right. I don't care who the guest is. You start pulling nays out of there. That's
it harks back to before you joined the call. We were doing Princess Bride, and I've just been saying marriage endlessly. So cultural references.
Jesus Christ!
When I hear nay, I think of a noise a horse makes.
Yeah,
nay.
totally. Yeah, it's one thing we always ask singer-songwriters is there a song out there you wish you'd written? Is there a film out there or a book you wish you'd written?
Interesting. Oh, I love the book Geek Love.
Yeah.
By Catherine Dunn. It's really wild. It's about this freak show. Incredible. If you haven't read it. So that's a book that I think is just brilliant. Movie that I wish I made. Oh my God, that's crazy. I would probably say something like All About My Mother by Almodovar. Something like that.
Yeah.
I love Pedro Almodovar's work.
Yeah.
I don't know. Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Love it.
Yeah. What we normally get is somebody being quite flippant and saying something like Bohemian Rhapsody for the royalties, not for the artistic merit, for the royalties. So feel free to slip in Titanic or Guardians of the Galaxy.
I'm not programmed that way, unfortunately. No. I wish I was.
Yeah, they're not my cup of tea either. So how do you then? There's a lot of people out there that love you as a filmmaker, and there's a lot of people that love your films. How do you engage with those
on
people?
Instagram? It's my name, Darren Stein, on Instagram. Yeah. I'm on Twitter, but mostly Instagram. I really like Instagram. I'm very flattered when people reach out and make fan art, and I will always reply, say thank you, whatever. Yeah, I don't mind engaging. I think it's an honor in this life to have people who love what you do, and if I have the bandwidth to be able to support, to be responsive, and to give back, that to me feels good.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing because social media has reduced the size of the world and brought us closer to, in inverted commas, celebrities or people we look up to, and so many people don't reciprocate, and it really is something special when you meet somebody that you think is okay, and they are okay.
Yeah, I love human beings. I love meeting people, so I just think it's cool to be able to connect. You know what I mean? So, but not all filmmakers and artists want to connect. They don't. That doesn't have value for them. They want to keep creating. They want to.
Yeah.
But I just like people, so I don't mind that. And they're driven by money. So if they're not getting paid,
yeah,
time is money.
Time is money. Yeah, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Looking back now, okay, over the past 27 years, you've been making films, 27, 28. What would you have done differently?
It's a good question. I don't know. I have a spiritual disconnect with that question because I feel like everything happens and unfolds the way it's meant to unfold.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything I would have done differently. I think that, I'm in a place now where I'm gonna I just feel like I'm raring to go as far as making new films and telling new stories. So I don't really, I'm not the type to be like, woe is me, if only I could have done X, Y, and Z. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
Answer for that one.
Great answer. Is there one single incident or achievement that stands out in your career as completely ticking all the boxes for you?
No.
Go in. No.
I have more to do. I just feel like I'm just beginning, honestly.
Yeah.
So
Really.
yeah.
Well, and that's a very, very good answer. It's a very wholesome answer.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're obviously, you know where you are, you know who you
Yeah.
are. Yeah, we couldn't ask for
People,
more.
it's like you have to be able to, I don't know, like it requires, people think I'm so cool because I've made a cult classic, but it's like one movie. It's like Woody Allen got to make movies every year. It's like I would have wanted to do that too, believe me, but like everyone has a different path. You can't cry over spilt milk, I mean, everyone has a different journey. I mean, I just feel very fortunate that I still get to move ahead and create and make movies and get to be in this business and have a place like the Academy show a film that has a 14% on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, that's fucking great.
Oh, you had to slip that in there.
No, you know what? You have to own it because it's ridiculous that it exists. It was a moment in time where all the critics were just fucking fuddy-duddy straight white dudes.
Oh, they still are.
And they didn't get it. And what's his name? Ebert, who I thought was so brilliant, smart, and who wrote one of my favorite films, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, hated it and was vitriolic against it. It's like the thing is, you can change. Like you can watch it. You can have one reaction to a film 20 years ago, watch it again now, and have a completely different reaction. So whatever that number is on Rotten Tomatoes, it doesn't matter. I don't care. And clearly, no one else does. So it's not a big deal to me.
Yeah, I think Dan and I have been talking. This has been a source of bemusement and to some point irritation. Apple have just released their top 100 albums of all time list. It's not quite as bonkers as the Rolling Stone top 500 album list from a couple of years ago, but we've been looking at it every day because they're releasing 10 a day. Going, how is that there higher than Hunky Dory or Aladdin Sane? And it just shows that reviews are so subjective, that you just got to take them with a pinch of salt because what I like, you might not, or you might, and that's what counts. It's not what some person who's trying to get his word count up thinks.
I swear to God, all my favorite artists are British, like from Bowie to the Cocteau Twins to, this Suede, Pulp, all that stuff.
Nice.
It's all British.
I'm going to see Suede in a couple of weeks.
So am I.
I just saw Suede in LA a few months ago. It was incredible. I'm seeing Pulp. Pulp's coming to LA. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I think
I saw them a few months. Yeah, I did. That just speechless. Absolutely. I'm Jarvis Cocker to me is a god.
I just
seeing him ascend these lit stairs up to a moon and the pose. It's just he knows theatrics. It's just absolute superb.
Now I move over to Darren, my soundtrack. Okay, so this is the section where we ask you, and this is a bit cheating. This is a film director. He's got experience of doing this. How would you score your life, sir? So fire away with your first track.
Opening credits. I mean, I just kind of went with my gut. I didn't spend too much time, but these are just first ideas. Opening credits, I would say the Cure Plain Song from Disintegration.
Lovely.
Yeah, well, we'll always
classic album.
Cure. Always have
classic album.
Yeah. I love the Cure. I just love the Cure.
They are a very, very English band.
Yes. And I have a friend who's friends with Lowell Tolhurst, so I've got to meet him.
Oh, it's been great. Yeah, Robert Smith looks like everybody's grandmother. After too many lines of the old marching powder. Yeah, and I will deny till my dying day that lady on that quiet Sunday evening was Robert Smith. Don't
Amazing.
tell anyone about it. So where did you go after The Cure then?
First Love, Night and Day by U2.
Cracking song.
Yeah, I think it was on a soundtrack for a
Yeah.
Wim Wenders film.
It
Yeah,
was it So Far Away?
yeah, something like that, or
Yeah.
Until the End of the World, or something. I don't know. Oh no, no, no! It might have been a. It was on a. It was on a AIDS. It might have been like an AIDS thing, an AIDS charity album or something. I don't know, but
Okay.
Night and Day. That was 1991. I was at NYU. Yeah, First Heartbreak, Cranberries Linger.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. What a fantastic
93.
song.
Yeah.
It gets murdered
That's
at
it.
karaoke too much for my liking.
Well,
But
I know it's a bit cliche, but it was like a moment in time for sure.
yeah.
Uh
And was it a bad heartbreak, your first one?
well, I fell for this dude at NYU from
Yeah.
Venezuela. He was half Venezuelan, half American. He went to film school and we were madly in love, but he was straight, really. Like, but
Right.
we were kind of infatuated with each other, but he turned out to be straight, unfortunately. But we're still friends to this day, which is
Yeah.
good. High school anthem, Every Day is Like Sunday by Morrissey.
Yeah. What a lovely character he's become recently.
Oh, that's such a bookmark in time, that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's a fucking nightmare.
I would pay money to have dinner with Morrissey and Donald Trump at the same time. You could just imagine the shit would be flying around with those two.
I wouldn't be able to keep my dinner down if Trump with me.
Oh, dear me. After dear old Morrissey, where did you go there?
Rocky training montage. I said Cannonball by the Breeders.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Biggest achievement. I said, what? I can't even read this. Oh, Gold by Spandau Ballet.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because it's just a fucking great song.
It is. It is. I forget that sometimes songs that are really big hits here translate across the Atlantic. And Gold to me it was a big hit here, but I didn't think it would settle in the American market.
No, it never really did. But like, I went on a few dates with this guy, literally 2 or 3 dates, nothing even significant whatsoever. The only significant thing about him was the fact that he turned me on to the Gold by Spandau Ballet.
Thank you very much.
That's how important music is to me.
Yeah. Thanks for dinner and thanks for the recommendation.
I mean, it's such a gift of a song.
Yeah.
What else is there? Your funeral. Your funeral. Oh, I just thought of a kind of a real gothy moment. Interlude by Moz and Susie.
Oh, I don't know that one. Dan will.
No.
Interlude is the duet with Morrissey and Susie.
Oh, Morrissey and Susie. Sorry, the line went a bit funky.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
It's a real sad sack of a song.
Is it?
You'll love it.
I'll give that one a listen next, and I'll send you a message when I'm feeling really pissed off and down. I'll message you going, "Thanks, Darren. Appreciate that. Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah."
It sounds like something. It sounds like something out of Wicker Man. It has that. Like,
the bees, not the bees.
No, it's like a folk. It has a folky vibe.
All right, the original or the Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, I was going to say
no, the original, obviously.
All right, yeah. Oh, that Nicolas Cage remake! I've got nightmares about that. The closing credits. Okay,
this one's a bit tongue in cheek because it references my being like in 5th or 6th grade, like 11 or 12, when I first got into new wave music. Masquerade by Berlin.
Oh wow,
very good song.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
That's a nice eclectic spread across there.
And then,
yeah. I like that. That'll be turned into a Spotify playlist.
I love it.
So people can listen to you tell the stories behind the songs, why they were important to you.
That's really cool. Yeah, I love that. I think your podcast is cool. I really love how you do it.
Thank you, sir. That means a lot to us. We like you when you started out, you do this for the love and the passion. And the most important thing to me is meeting new people. And I not only have I met yourself, but I've met some other people from all around the world. We both have. and it's been this great honor to actually spend some time in your zones, hearing your thoughts. I'm a musician, Dan's a musician, but I understand now a little bit more about how you work, and that to me, that makes everything worthwhile.
I think that's what's beautiful is creatives talking to creatives and learning from each other. It's because often you end up working in a little silo in this sort of hole of your own thoughts and your own creativity. So to speak to others, it's just fantastic. I think it's really lovely.
I feel like I've been to the UK today. I feel like I've been to.
I think your playlist brought you to the UK.
Well, darling, I always live in that fucking headspace. So
don't mention Bowie again. I won't hear the end of it for the rest of the bleeding night. Will you stop it? All you'll be doing now is you mentioned David Bowie. Did you see him do that? Did you hear him?
Well, I've got Black Star tattooed on my arm.
Oh, that's fabulous. Love that.
Do you want
to see what I have tattooed on my arm? It says starring Tim Curry.
Tim Curry.
Oh, that's brilliant. Love it.
When did you get that?
I want to say last year.
Yeah.
It is from when I was growing up. I had the Broadway cast poster for Rocky Horror in my bedroom as a kid. And I listened to the Roxy cast album over and over. I was obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I also have Sid and Nancy, all these Brits. I have another Brit. I have Sid on this arm.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And I have Nancy on this arm.
Jesus Christ. Brilliant.
I can understand the Tim Curry one.
Oh.
I really can. I really can.
Okay.
No, I can understand that one. But two junkies that went out in a blaze of nothingness.
We all die in the end, don't we?
Oh, we do. Nobody gets out alive.
No, well, nobody gets out alive. No, Sid and Nancy had such a profound effect on me, the movie. I just fucking loved it. And punk rock and Sid Vicious and Nancy and that love story. When I was young and watching the movie, it just really resonated with me for whatever reason. And then I named my dog Sid and Nancy. So these are actually not about Sid and Nancy.
Oh, right. They're about dogs.
I should have given you context.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
These are about dogs that I loved.
Right. Yeah.
But the underbelly is there.
Yeah. I went to see John Lydon, the singer of the Sex Pistols.
Cool. Yeah.
I went to see him do a talk. He does a one-man show where he spits out stories of punk and of all those days. And he told this amazing story of they were in Sweden, and he was standing in the airport with Sid Vicious, and Sid Vicious started to shake. John Lydon said, "Oh, what's he sniffed this time?" ABBA were walking through the airport.
Oh my God.
And Sid Vicious got so excited that he puked. Because he was a big ABBA fan.
I love that.
Isn't that just amazing? It shows how music can translate.
Oh yeah.
All demographics.
And cinema. I mean, for me,
cinema too, yeah.
I got into Rocky Horror first through the movie Fame, because in the film Fame, which was Alan Parker, another British guy, they show them going to see it at midnight in New York. And I was like, what is that? And then Sid and Nancy, I saw when I was like 14 or 15, introduced me to the Sex Pistols, So I think movies can introduce you to music to movies. It's all sort of interconnected.
Yeah. One of the friends of the podcast is a lady called Tanya Rich. She's a vocal artist and coach. She is one of what we would call an original punk. She's she was around at the right time. She used to manage a band called Discharge, which was one of the hardcore punk bands in England.
Yes.
Tanya's just about to launch a podcast, and I'm sure some punk stories will feature in there. As a child, she was in the record. Not as a child, as a teenager, she was in the recording studio when Ian Dury and the Blockheads were doing "Hit Me with a Rhythm Stick," and the twin sax solo. She was there for that, and you're thinking to yourself, "That's not fair." I wish I was there, but you
That's
can't
so
always have it. Yeah.
Speaking of punk podcasts, I don't know if you know about this, but if you don't, you should listen to it. Curious Creatures.
Yeah, I've heard
that. Curious Creatures is Lowell Tolhurst from The Cure and Budgie from Susie.
Oh, Budgie. Yeah.
And it splits. And they just tell punk stories, and it's really fun. And they have really good guests. I mean, it's a bit, weird because they score the podcast. And there's like this weird music play under it. and Budgie. They're just cool dudes. I think it's fun. I mean, dip into it and give it a listen.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah,
I'll do that.
Thanks. Well, I for one am looking forward to seeing how the Jawbreaker musical
I am
comes on. It sounds incredibly exciting, and being a fan of the original film, it's great. It's going to be great to see how you update things.
Yeah, no, it's exciting for sure. Yeah.
Well, Darren, thank you very, very much for your time. It's deeply appreciated. You've been engaging and entertaining, and you've made me laugh so loud. I'm sure I've woke the dog up. But
well, you guys asked the questions. I feel like you brought the energy and you asked the questions that really brought me to life. So thank you for being coming from an artistic place and inspiring me to laugh and be joyful. That was awesome.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Hope to talk to you again. Thank you, Darren.
For sure.
Thank you.
Thanks.